Welcome everyone to this webinar. We've got 45 minutes together, hopefully to try to help clarify what the options are going forward for your region. Just before we get started, you can avail of the Q&A button. You'll find it on the top of your Teams window if you're on a Windows machine. I don't know where it will be if you're on a Mac or a phone, but the Q&A, I have got colleagues here that are willing and able to help support answering those as we go along. Please feel free to put your hands up at any time using the raise hand button on the interface, because we're also happy to take questions as we go along, and or I am, because I don't like just hearing the sound of my own voice on transmit the whole time. So we do have a lot of people that have registered for this session, and so it may not be possible to deal with everybody verbally live at the time. I'm going to do a quick presentation, and then we should have some time at the end of that for you to ask your questions. So with that said, is there anything else I need to set up?
No, I think we're good. We've admitted everyone, and we'll be keeping an eye on the Q&A channel.
Thank you, Andrew. Okay.
Sorry, Tim, just before you start, could I just ask that people don't have their own AI recordings on during the session, and we will share the recording after and the slides.
Thank you. Good point. Okay, thank you, everyone. My name's Tim Brady. I'm the subject advisor here at Pearson for computer science qualifications, digital qualifications, and IT and ICT qualifications. So hopefully you can all see my slides, which are on a screen that I'm sharing, which are to my right. So if I avert my eyes, it's only because I've got multiple monitors and I want to read my slide. The four qualifications that I will be covering in this short session are the GCSE Computer Science, International GCSE Computer Science, International GCSE ICT, and International A-Level IT. I suppose the first thing that we want to say is that we understand that these are difficult times, very challenging situations, and foremost in our thoughts are your safety and those of your loved ones, colleagues, and students. Here's the agenda we're going to run through. So we're going to talk. I'm going to quickly go through the qualifications and the ramifications for these qualifications one by one, starting with the GCSE Computer Science, which is the only off-qual regulated in my stable of quals that we're going to be talking about today. Then we'll do the IGs and the IAL. Then we'll have some time to look at frequently asked questions, and then support and Q&A. So starting with GCSE Computer Science, this is a two-component qualification, paper 1 and paper 2. They're equally weighted. They're out of 75 marks each. Paper 2 is a on-screen exam, so it has that practical element. It's linear and off-qual regulated. So on this slide here, you can see that this linear qualification is going to, for centres that are impacted, like yourselves, going to be certified. The only route for certification this summer will be through submission of a portfolio. On the right-hand side, you can see that there is an option to defer exams, although the initial deadline for that, being the 21st of April, has passed. So if you have students that you would want to defer until summer of 2027, you can contact us immediately and raise those with us, and I think they can be supported, although the deadline was the 21st for withdrawal. So option two, what the regulatory framework wanted was to have calculated calculated grades, but that isn't an option for this qualification. So this qualification grades will be awarded using a portfolio of evidence. So it's coming under the international contingency grading approach. So we'll talk about that more as we go through this presentation. But for the GCSE Computer Science, if you have got entries made for this summer for that qualification, and you haven't already withdrawn, then you will be going through the international contingency grading process. And there's a link on this slide. You'll be getting a copy of this slide deck after this webinar, so you'll be able to use those links. And that link is to the guidance all about the international contingency grading process and the submission of your portfolios. Very early on in the portfolio creation description, there's a reference to a centre evidence confirmation form. Now, this is a spreadsheet, and I downloaded it yesterday to have a look at it. It's a macro-enabled spreadsheet. You can tell because it's got XLSM, so it has macros embedded in it. When you download this file, you need to right-click, select Properties, and click on the Unblock. Otherwise, it won't work for you. So you need to check this box, as the Americans would say it, tick it, as I would say it, and then you will be able to apply that change in Properties and then open it. You'll need to use Microsoft Excel desktop version and enable macros so that you can use that form. That form helps communicate to us what the portfolio of evidence is going to contain. And it helps to clarify which units or components that are going to be part of your submission. We'll get on more to the details of that a bit later. The other thing that's going to be interesting, and it's covered in this second box on the right here, is that there will be a different code. So your exams officers will be very used to dealing with product codes, and this code will be a new code which will have a paper number of 99 on it, and you will use that code for uploading your information using learner work transfer. So it's important to not be looking to try to upload or to learner work transfer your portfolio of evidence using any other code. So this number 99 will denote this special emergency code that we've set up for you so that you're able to upload your work. The uploading of student portfolios evidence opens on the 1st of May and it's open until the 7th of June. On the left-hand side here, you can see that I've got a link to a general page from our website where we will keep you informed of any changes or updates in terms of our overall approach and support. And underneath is a link to the document, which is the guidance for internal portfolio. So that's the GCSE Computer Science, the off-qual regulated qualification. Now, for the international GCSE Computer Science and ICT, these are lumped together because they're exactly the same in terms of treatment. The international GCSE Computer Science is a two-paper qualification, 50-50, 80 marks, a standard written paper for paper 1, and then paper 2 is a practical paper. This computer science paper 2 is a 3-hour external assessment on computer, and the evidence that would be collected from this practical paper is in two forms. There's a digital element, so actual program code files, as well as answers that would be in a normal circumstance captured on the exam paper or the question paper. So The international GCSE is very similar. It has paper 1 which is written and a paper 2 which is practical. In this case, it's 100%. The practical paper is completely digital, so we only ever receive digital evidence from you. So if you were to have run a mock on paper 2 and you have the digital evidence from that, that would be an ideal thing to use for your portfolio for paper 2. In the case of the computer science here, you would need to supply the digital code files that the students had worked on, plus a scanned version of the question papers where they'd put their marks on it. So these are both linear qualifications, which means that again, there are only two options, one which is to defer to the following, to the next assessment window, which for ICT could be November 26, if things have come back to being operational by then, or for GCSE computer, or for IG Computer Science, it would be summer 27. Again, the students that are eligible for the international contingency grading, they would have be looking to submit a portfolio of evidence for both components, and that theme runs through all of the contingency requirements. What they're looking for is evidence from every component. Same here, you'll go to a place where you're asked to create a center evidence confirmation form, and this is the macro-enabled spreadsheet. So I'm again reminding you that you have to unblock that so it will work and enable macros. And then codes will also be created for the IG Computer Science and the IG ICT, which will have number 99. And important to understand as well is that IG Computer Science, for example, has two papers, so it would normally have two codes. One code, 199, will count for all components or units for this contingency process. So when you see the code for the IG ICT and it has 99 on it, you would upload evidence for paper 1 and paper 2 against that same code using learner work transfer. And that's what's covered here in this box here. Again, the portal will be open from the 1st of May. So all of those three first qualifications are linear, and so options are limited. The International A-Level IT is a 4-unit qualification, and it's modular. The first 2 units comprise the International AS level, IAS, on this slide. And you can see that the Unit 1 and Unit 2 are 50-50 for that. And that would normally, so in a normal 2-year delivery program, you might take these 2 papers in year 1. Unit 3 and Unit 4 might then follow in year 2. Unit 1 and Unit 3 are standard written papers. Unit 2 and Unit 4 are practical exams. So how will the grades be awarded for the international A-level? So it depends on a student's circumstances. There is, in this case, the possibility of calculated grades. And that would mean that you had enough banked units that we could accept submission from you that we calculate an overall grade for the international A-level based on the 3 banked units. If you don't have sufficient banked units, and the majority of delivery processes be that you would still have 2 to do, so the most likely process that you'll be going through will be the international contingency grading process again. And for that, you'll be able to upload your portfolios again from the 1st of May. And what we would need to have is, if this is a student certificating the summer on international A-level, the full A-level, we would be wanting to see in the portfolio evidence for unit 3 and 4 if you had done 1 and 2 in year 1. But there will be variations on that because some students may be in a retake cycle, but we need to work with you on a one-to-one basis to cover those situations. What's an interesting issue with the international A level, you would be eligible for a calculated grade if you have 3 banked units, and one of those 3 would have to be an IA2 unit, so either unit 3 or unit 4. If you have unit 1 and 2 banked and you plan to certificate this year, we're not accepting those 2 units as sufficient evidence to go ahead and calculate a grade. And you can find the details on how to submit and what the key dates and deadlines are in this very important guidance document there. If you are fortunate enough to be in a position to opt for a calculated grade, the links and procedure is summarized. We have extensive FAQs, and lots of the FAQs revolve around how much evidence does each subject need to submit. I'm not going to read this now, but what we're looking for is to support centres and students and to protect the integrity of the awards. So what we'd be looking for is as good portfolios of evidence as possible. Primarily past paper are ideal. Past papers are ideal evidence because they include the whole of the assessment design in the way of monitoring it. And if past papers are not possible, there are other options, and it's dealt with in the text of the FAQ document and the guidance document that I've put the links to first. And this is why we recommend the use of past papers, because it makes that evidence the most credible and the most accurate in order for our examiners to be able to derive meaningful and credible awards for your students. It goes on in the FAQs to talk about submit predicted grades. We do not need any of the evidence you send us to be marked. It can be marked. If you marked it, it will be marked, but it's not necessary, and it won't be part of what the decision process uses to make the award. Grade boundaries are not going to be used, and we will be using experienced examiners who have done these qualifications over some years to make their expert opinions for this. And for the so relevant to our qualifications here are paper 2s for the IG, for the GCSE, and for the IAL. We have these papers that are so-called practical assessments. And the general question is, do we want evidence that covers these practical papers? And the answer is yes. Ideally, you will have done past papers of the practical assessments. They're all available online. They have a stock of past papers that you could have used at some time during your teaching, and that would be the ideal evidence to submit. Right, I've galloped through the slides I wanted to show. Have we been getting questions coming in?
Yeah, we have had some questions coming in. I can give you, I think we've responded to pretty much everything we have, but maybe it's worth just doing a brief summary if that's helpful for others on the call. Yeah. So I'll take them in the order. So this is kind of most recent first. So we had a question around IGCSE ICT paper 1 and 2, where students are completing the assessment online and don't have access to the same devices they might normally have. So for example, if they're using Macs and they can't complete activities related to MS Access. what would you do? And I think in those circumstances, if they are prevented from accessing those platforms for, the reasons we've discussed, then you would need to submit a spec-com form along with your portfolio of assessment to explain those circumstances so that we can take that into account. Yeah. I'll keep going through. It's good to perhaps share these. So we had a question around, is there a particular way that a piece of evidence should be named when it's uploaded to the 99 code for the portfolio? We've responded to say that we haven't specified a way that these pieces of evidence should be named, but obviously if they are named in a logical way, then that will support our reviewers when they look at this evidence. But I also just wanted to reassure on that one that our reviewers will look at all evidence that is submitted for any candidate submitting a portfolio of evidence.
Yeah, and I think it's really worth saying as well that every time you upload a portfolio, it's on a candidate basis. So whatever the name is of the zip file, I strongly recommend you zip them up. Name the zip file so that the candidate is uniquely identifiable very clearly. Under that, you can then have folders where you would have Unit 2, Unit 3, Unit 4, and organize it like that. And that will help you to not make mistakes when you're using learner work transfer, and it will make it easier for the examiners to find the right evidence as well. But naming, we haven't mandated a naming convention, but there are ones that we use very standardly, which you can adopt.
I'll carry on. So a quick question on, are mock papers from January acceptable? And I think the simple answer to that is yes. Any mock papers that we have available on our website will be the ideal form for generating evidence for these portfolios of assessment, but by no means not the only form. Another question for IGCSE Computer Science. I haven't responded to this one yet. Does the evidence that will serve as the class assignment need to cover all AOs, or could it be either P1 or P2 based? So from an assessment point of view, what we're looking for is evidence that covers the range of the spec that we're expecting to make a judgment on. I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that, Tim.
Yeah, the more coverage, the better. And then, if you're not able to cover everything, make sure you let us know that in the form that you submit along with those portfolios.
I know I'm going through the Q&A section. I recognize there may be some questions in the chat as well, so I'm just going to carry on. So for the mock portfolio of evidence, are we allowed to choose any paper, or does it have to be one that includes HTML for IGCSE ICT, since it isn't included in every series? I've said it should cover the content of the spec, so any past paper is relevant. Anything to add on that, Tim? Yeah.
No, I agree with that. I mean, the reality is in this portfolio is we're using language saying that ideally it covers the full content of the spec, but our assessments sample. So if you've used a past paper, it will be a sample by its very nature. So one of those is applicable.
Yeah, and I just to be clear on the language there, so cover the range of the spec in the way that our normal assessments expect to do that. So of course they sample the content to a certain level of depth, but they go across the breadth of the specification usually. Cover the key topics. So that's what we're looking for. Someone has said, can the November series question papers also be used for the May-June series for IGCSE ICT and computer science? I assume that's talking about November 2025 series question papers. If those are available, they can be used to generate a portfolio of evidence for this summer series.
Yeah, as you said, any past paper is eligible. It's a good candidate to help make a portfolio.
Yeah, I'll come through. So it's the questions around what exactly range of questions on what should we submit for paper 2, or what we should submit in general. I've added the guidance that we have on our website on the portfolio submission, which describes in broad terms what we're looking for. Obviously, today's call has gone into more detail on that, and the slides and the recording will be shared after this webinar. Follow-up question on that. Do you need the Python file and the exam question? I assume that's related to paper 2 on GCSE Computer Science. Is there anything you want to add on that, Tim?
Yeah, it could be it could be GCSE Computer Science, or it could be the IG Computer Science, so either of them. So if you're talking about the GCSE Computer Science, we only need the Python code files that the students modified. That's exactly what is marked for the GCSE Computer Science Paper 2. For the IG Computer Science Paper 2, it's a hybrid assessment. So there will be Python code files, but also some of the questions are written onto the question paper. So ideally, those would be scanned, combined with the Python code files for every student, and then zipped up and uploaded to the 99 code in Learner Work Transfer. Hopefully that's clear.
I'll carry on. So another question, we deliver international GCSE ICT, and we've been informed by Pearson's rep that no evidence is required for paper 2. Only one piece of evidence for paper 1 is required. I'm not sure that's correct. Tim, do you want to?
It's not correct.
Yeah. So we are looking for evidence for all units.
We require evidence for all units.
Yeah. Apologies, someone says I was finishing my lesson, missed information about the off-qual GCSE, so the regulated GCSE. Are we expected to submit a portfolio of assessment including paper 1 or just paper 2? I think we've covered that. It needs to be both papers. Are more recent past papers advised to use as opposed to older exam papers, or does it not make a difference? If they are papers for the current version of the spec, then it shouldn't make a difference. They should all be written to the same standard and covering the spec. Obviously, if you're talking about a past paper that's from a previous, much older version of the spec, then it's less likely to cover the content, so it would be less ideal. For IGCSE Computer Science, does the evidence that will serve as the class assignment need to cover all? I think we've covered that one, haven't we? Apologies. Yeah, we want to cover all of the spec. For GCSE Computer Science Paper 2, if only the Python file is uploaded, how will you tell which paper that came from?
We'll easily tell. The examiners will know. But I mean, listen, if it makes, by all means, upload the question paper as well if you want. But what I can assure you is our examiners who have examined over the series will very easily be able to identify which paper it's come from.
Another question, can we use specimen papers? So again, I think the message here is that existing past papers that Pearson have put on the website will, I think for obvious reasons, will be the best possible form of evidence. If by specimen papers you mean something other than that, if you have nothing else available, then yes, you can use those, but we would recommend using, Pearson past papers wherever possible. Do we need to identify the paper the questions in a mock are from? No, you don't need to say which paper it's from. If it's a past paper, it will naturally cover the content. Our reviewers will look at that there will be content experts. There will be our existing senior markers, for example. They will recognize the nature of that content when they look at it. We have had mocks, IGCSE Computer Science, in January, full paper for paper 1 theory, but our paper 2 students were not ready for 20-mark questions. So we replaced it with multiple 4 to 6 marks to make up the 80-mark totals. Will this suffice, or will they need another full paper for paper 2? I think what I would say on that one is if you are able to have those students complete another full paper for paper 2, that's probably a good thing. If you are not able to do that, then please do submit the existing version that you have.
There's a question here, Andrew, on the chat. We have been informed that only practical is needed as evidence for the IG ICT and for the IG Computer Science. Could you please double check this? We have informed parents and students already. So my understanding absolutely is that we require evidence from all components or units. So if you have been informed otherwise, that is a problem, I think, that we should try and follow up on. and maybe that teacher could drop me an email. My contact details are on the screen, so that we can follow up with. You know, and you have our greatest sympathy and apologies. You know, our people in the field will only have been doing their very best to try and give clear information, but it's been a very fast moving situation. So please bear with us, and I'm very sorry if you've misled parents and students, or we've misled you. So we'll try and sort it out for you as quickly as possible.
Yeah, we'll absolutely follow that one up. But to be clear, we want evidence for all units. Another question here for IGCSE Computer Science. If we have evidence taken in exam conditions for full pass papers of paper 1 and paper 2, do we need any more evidence? Will these be enough for evidence? So I think the answer there is yes, we would expect those to be enough for evidence. It doesn't stop you submitting extra evidence, but of course, those if you've got exam conditions, paper 1 and paper 2, then that will be the key piece of evidence we would focus on. I think I've caught up in the Q&A section, but you mentioned there was some stuff in the chat. So
yeah, there's just last one in the chat for ICT paper 2, learner work transfer will be the same procedures as of last year. Okay, almost. So in a normal awarding process, you would upload to the code for paper 2. In this case, you will be uploading paper 1 and paper 2 evidence to the 99 code. In every other respect, learner work transfer works exactly the same. If you have any questions or queries or concerns or confused, email me and I'll make sure I get details to you that unravel the complexities of that. Is there any file size limit for paper 1 scanned copy? Learner work transfer has developed over the years to be very robust in terms of file sizes, but I do believe there is a number. I don't have that in my head right now. Katie, does it? Do you know, Andrew?
Yeah, I happened to be on another one of these webinars where this came up, so I'll repeat the information we got there. So there is a maximum of 8 gigabytes in terms of file size, but what we ask is that centres try to keep to 1 gigabyte for the purposes of usability, but there is a maximum of 8 gigabytes.
Is there any video? Oh, hold on. That's just good. Is there any video to fill centre evidence? Video to fill centre evidence form? No, I don't think, not that I know of. That form, you're talking about the macro-enabled spreadsheet. I do believe that there is help for that, but I'm not sure where to find it. Maybe drop me an email and I'll chase that up for you. There's some hands coming up. Should we let people talk? Andrew?
Yeah, there's a few more questions. I would really encourage to add questions into the Q&A. We will try and come to hands, but it's going to be harder to do that. And I think it's more efficient if we go through the questions in the Q&A. So if possible, please do add that, just because we then have a record of it and we can, respond and everyone can see that response. So I'll carry on with the Q&A. So our school have requested spring exams in May, June as evidence, but online and not in exam school conditions, but we have mocks completed. Which would be better? So I think if you're talking about in general terms, things that are completed in exam conditions versus mocks that perhaps were done as practice tests or not in full exam conditions, then exam conditions will be inevitably more robust. It may be that in circumstances like that, you might want to submit both, but I would say exam conditions is always going to be more robust, as long as it covers all of the content. For IGICT, can we assess the candidates using the mock paper available in the teacher resources? This covers the entire specification. I assume that is an option. Tim, I don't know if you want to say anything on that.
Not familiar with the paper that's been referenced there. It doesn't sound like it's an actual past paper. I mean, that might approximate to something like a specimen paper. An official past paper would always be better. we do understand that it's not always possible for you to get the perfect portfolio of evidence, and in that case, you do the best you can. And if that's what you have and all you're able to get, then that should be submitted along with the background to that.
Yeah, and I think that follows on with this next question, and I'll raise this one just because I think it's come up a couple of times. So, if a student cannot complete a mandatory software-based task such as MS Access, what alternative evidence would Pearson accept for that component?
Will we accept the best alternative evidence you have?
I'll just, a couple more coming in. So normally students are not aware of the SAM, so these are not seen. Can we use these? So these are sample assessment materials. I think you may already have answered this, Tim, sort of in principle. We're looking for past papers wherever possible, but there is obviously flexibility around that where it may not be possible. Another one, I apologize if my question's repeated. Am I right to understand that for IGCSE Computer Science, we only need to submit the mock evidence for P1 and 2, and that should be sufficient? And if we submit any more of the evidence, like the class assignment, it will just add value to the students' portfolios?
You know, here's the thing, we're obliged to look at whatever you send us. If you feel that when the mocks were done, the students were halfway through their development and you have classroom evidence that is robust and reliable, that shows that they made further progress, I would never say don't send it. I don't know exactly how the examiners will manage to deal with that though, right?
Well, I mean, I would just reiterate what you've said there. Please be assured that we will review all evidence that is received, and we recognise that these are unusual circumstances, and our aim will be to avoid any possible disadvantage to candidates who, through no fault of their own, are not able to complete assessments, in countries where exams have had to be cancelled. So we will be doing everything we can to support that, and that includes looking at all information that's received. Of course, we will also do everything we can to ensure that the submissions are as focused and relevant as possible on the units. Hence these webinars. Another question: our students have done their ASIT last year with excellent grades. They were doing A2. So is one paper under exam conditions for Unit 3 and 4 enough for them to get the overall grade? We will carry forward AS. Please suggest. So I think what we're looking for is, sorry, Tim, go ahead.
Yeah, you're quite right. It's exactly right. That's the right approach. Whatever you can provide for Unit 3 and 4 is what we want you to do, and the best, the most reliable and straightforward type of evidence are past paperwork, ideally under exam conditions. But if that wasn't the case and you can't do it, then whatever you can send. But we do need both Unit 3 and Unit 4 evidence in the portfolio.
Just a quick one, is 8 gigabytes per candidate portfolio or the whole cohort portfolio size? My understanding is it's per candidate.
I think it's per file. So if you zip a student's work, that zip archive counts as a file. So if that were over 8 gig big, it would be rejected. So it could be a number of files, but in a zip file, when it's zipped up, that's dealt with as one file. But in general, our evidence, unless you're talking about a scanned question paper, our evidence is going to be relatively tiny. The kind of numbers that worry the 8 gig thresholds are related to performing arts and PE, where they've done a 1 hour high definition video recording of a football game and such like. But let us know if you're worried about file size and hitting huge file sizes. Talk to us. Email me and we can sort it out. I can give you approaches, there are ways to work with it, to reduce the file size or to carve it up into smaller zip files. There are always ways to arrange it, and we'll make sure that we don't let something like file size get between you and your students getting their just rewards.
One final one. Our students are doing IGCSE ICT paper 2 on site. A few have travelled. If they do it online, do we mention this in the portfolio document with additional support evidences for the student? So I think the template of that submission document is pretty clear, isn't it? So you would briefly mention the circumstances under which they had done that assessment.
All I would say is you have emails on the screen here for me, computer science at and teaching ICT at. You can book an appointment with me by using the link there. And you can contact us through all of the normal channels. Please don't hesitate to keep in contact with us. We'll do our best to help clarify things.
Brilliant. Just to reassure, I know there's a hand. I'm sorry I haven't been able to get up. It's the way these webinars have been set up. I think we've gone through all of the chat and the Q&A, but just to reassure, the recording will be shared, the slides will be shared, and as Tim has just said, please keep in touch with us. We're very focused on responding to queries around this, recognise the anxiety it's causing, and there will always be questions we may not have thought about. So please do stay in touch.
And thank you all very much for making yourself available today, and keep safe and keep in touch. Thank you very much.